Manuel Zelaya's loyal followers are preparing the festive flags as they mobilize to welcome home their hero. Although he was ousted in a coup, his supporters say his popularity is stronger than ever. Expectations that Zelaya will be able to bring about political change are running high.
Despite the risk, he is rejoining the popular resistance, and the objectives are clear. We are fighting for a social pact and constitutional changes because the people deserve to assume the power of sovereignty of the nation.
Zelaya's return was made possible by a deal brokered this month by the presidents of Venezuela and Colombia. It fulfills a promise by Zelaya's elected successor, Porfirio Lobo, to reconcile the country's bitterly divided political factions. It's the aftermath of Zelaya's ouster and expulsion from the country by the army, courts, and Congress in 2009, which sparked riots and political and economic sanctions against Honduras. Zelaya was accused of violating the Constitution by trying to stage a referendum that could have abolished the single-term limit for presidents. The deal to bring Zelaya back opens the door to Honduras's reinstatement into the Organization of American States soon.
The return to the OAS is a political, diplomatic and economic lifeline for President Lobo. It allows Honduras to regain its international standing and for international aid organizations to resume their activities.
Cutting off foreign aid has had a punishing effect on people here. Honduras is the second poorest country in Central America. This poor neighborhood in the center of the capital, its streets still unpaved, typical of Zelaya's political strongholds all across the country. People here hoping that his return will somehow start to bring improvement, real improvement in their lives. Though Zelaya has plenty of detractors, his faithful hope he will now lead an opposition movement to resume his fight for constitutional reform and economic benefits for workers.
He really helped us with a minimum wage increase. Nobody in the private sector wanted to help us.
But many who will turn out to welcome Zelaya aren't thinking about revolutionary change.
It's great that he's coming back because all the aid we had when he was president has been suspended. So we're not here for the politics, we're here for the aid.
Though barred from ever becoming president again, Zelaya's challenge will be to fulfill promises to his supporters within the same political system that overthrew him. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera, Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
Now, Zelaya's return to the country comes after a series of reported human rights violations by the government of Honduras. Following the military-backed overthrow of then-President Zelaya in June of 2009, Congress voted to allow security forces to arrest criminal suspects without a warrant. Thousands of Hondurans were subsequently held for lengthy periods of time without charge. The post-coup government also shut down media in Honduras and blocked broadcasts of the Venezuelan-backed Telesur, a channel supportive of the ousted president. Honduras is now also one of the most dangerous countries in the world in which to be a journalist. 7 journalists were killed in the first quarter of 2010 alone. Earlier, I spoke to Pamela Spies. She's a senior human rights lawyer who just returned from Honduras. She described the state of human rights in Honduras as it prepares for the return of Zelaya.
Well, it's in a state of crisis. It hasn't, there's been no slowdown in the human rights violations over the past 2 years. And in fact, we've seen an intensification of the excessive use of force at demonstrations, targeting of those who have stood in opposition to the coup. This has not lessened, and it's not going to with ex-President Zelaya's return. Which is welcomed and applauded, but it's an ongoing crisis, and there's been absolutely no accountability for the political killings, for any of the retaliations and persecution since the coup.
Give us some examples. It seems to be like torture, there's killing, there's rape, it's teachers, unions, it's journalists. What's going on?
It's all of those, and what happened pretty soon after the coup is that a very diverse opposition formed to the coup government, and it encompassed all of the sectors you just mentioned: teachers, unionists, the LGBT community, and all of these communities have been targeted for their political stance against the coup. There have been killings. There have been a number of brutal killings. I think we're well over 200 now. And it's also, journalists have been attacked and targeted. Honduras has been named more than once one of the most dangerous places, or the most dangerous place in the world for journalists. At least 10 have been killed, and I think most of those have been since the inauguration of Porfirio Lobo after the November elections in Honduras.
And yet the U.S. has continued to lobby for Honduras' reinstatement in the Organization of American States. Is there any pressure coming from Washington at all?
As far as the
accountability for a start,
right.
Yeah, I guess.
There are, the U.S. singled out Honduras, as one of a number of countries where the human rights situation was of concern in its annual human rights report. But at the same time, it's continuing to support and provide assistance to the military and the police. It has not refrained at all from doing that throughout this time. And it has billed the situation in a much different light. It has tried to suggest that the Lobo government is responding to the human rights crisis, that there are improvements when in fact there are none.